This is Squawk Pod from CNBC. We're bringing you the best of Squawk in Paris for the 2024 Olympic Games. On today's episode, history made. Female Olympians are celebrating their moment. First, why now? Women have been outperforming in sports for ages. So we asked the GOAT why this Olympics feels so different. It's Serena Williams.
We have been playing, we have been kicking behind it, and we've been really good at it. It's technology.
On the rugby pitch, the U.S. women's sevens team won its first ever medal and scored $4 million for its program from a newly inspired fan. Olympian and TikTok star Ilona Maher is using social media to plan her future.
Especially in rugby, right? We're not getting $1 million contracts. We can't think of it as a career, really. We're not going to retire and be set.
And retired gymnast and 6-time Olympic medalist Raisman on the pressure of the stadium, even from the stands.
I felt like the entire arena was rooting for the U.S. It was really special.
How she's been cheering on friend and former teammate Simone Biles.
She's worked so hard. I feel like this is the most calm and sure of herself I've ever seen her, and I think it really shows in her gymnastics.
Plus how athletes and investors are capitalizing on Olympic wins. Social media marketing and brand deals are now just part of the games. Athleta CEO Chris Blakesley explains his brand's Power of She campaign, which celebrates and monetizes women's sport.
We have these 13 incredible, game-changing women who are the Power of She Collective members who help us tell those stories.
I'm CNBC producer Cameron Costa, podcasting from New York. It's Thursday, August 1st, 2024, and Squawk Pod from the Olympics begins right now.
Welcome back to Squawk Box right here in Paris. CNBC hosted a leadership forum at the U.S. Ambassador's official residence here in Paris. Joe Becky and I spoke with the GOAT, Serena Williams. She's, of course, a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, and we asked her about the growing viewership and investment in women's sports.
Women have been around for ages, and we have been forever. We didn't just start a year ago or 2 years ago that the media thinks. We have been playing, we have been kicking behind it, and we've been really good at it. It's technology. We're able to tell our own stories. We're able to have our own platform to be able to do that, and people could see that not only are we great players, but now we have there's personality and there's things behind that. And so a lot of people are really getting behind that movement.
And when Serena announced in 2022 that the U.S. Open would be her last tournament, she wrote an iconic essay in Vogue magazine. She said in part, "I have never liked the word retirement. It doesn't feel like a modern word to me. I've been thinking of this as a transition." Here in Paris, we asked her how she's thinking about that next chapter.
I don't like the word retire because I have so much more in me, and I have so much that I'm doing. I have been investing actually for 14 years now, and so that's something I've always been passionate about. And with my company, we just invest in women, we invest in people of color, we invest in women of color, we invest in literally everyone, because we feel that everyone deserves a seat at the table. Diversity is really having everyone there. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your background is, and that's what we want to do as a company and as a brand, and that's what we do. And so that's actually could be possibly harder than tennis. It takes a lot of work.
Serena Williams is so much more than an Olympic athlete, but just for the record, she is a 4-time gold medalist. Those investments she was mentioning, they're through the VC fund Serena Ventures, and she wasn't kidding. More than half of the companies in her portfolio were founded by women. 47% were founded by Black entrepreneurs and 11% by Latino entrepreneurs. Serena Williams' take on the power of social media and tech for women's sports is important. Fellow venture investor, co-founder of Reddit, and Serena's husband, Alexis Ohanian, has been investing in women's sports for years. He told us in Paris that female athletes are the ones garnering most of the social media attention.
In the attention economy, we are fighting tooth and nail on social media to get someone to pay attention. And you look at follower counts and it tells you the story of why women athletes are so compelling.
If you poke around your Squawk Pod feed, you'll see a bunch of episodes from our coverage at the Olympics, including that conversation with Alexis Ohanian. You'll also find another women's sports investor, Michelle Kang. She'll come up later. One Olympian who's taken social media by storm is Ilona Maher. You might know her from the women's rugby sevens team that just won a bronze medal in the last 8 seconds of their last match. It was the first Olympic medal for the US women's rugby team ever. And in addition to winning that medal, Ilona Maher has won millions of followers on TikTok and Instagram, like me. As Andrew Ross Sorkin will explain, Maher sat down with NBC after that big win and explained why social media is so important for the business of women's sports and for her career.
I mean, it just means that for 3 years we've just been focused on this. 3 years we've been focused on getting a medal, but it means so much for our program because we needed this medal. We needed to show that the U.S. that we're valuable, that they're worthy, that we're something that you should take notice of and put your funding into. And it was really important because, you know, our coach said to us in our last tournament in Madrid, like, if we don't win a medal, we might not have a program next year. And so that really stuck with me, those words, and we delivered.
We had investor Michelle Kang on the show. She joined us right here on Squawk earlier in the week. She ended up donating $4 million in USA Women's Rugby. The program is trying to look to grow the league and try to provide more resources to its players and coaching staff ahead of the next Summer Olympics. Of course, that's happening in LA in 2028. And we asked Maher about the impact of the donation.
I mean, so excited, but also we were like, yeah, this is good. This is what we deserve. And this is the momentum we were trying to build. And so happy that people are taking notice of it. I mean, her donation is just amazing. And we really need that because we're trying to make this program into something better for all the women who've before us who, you know, had to work full-time jobs to do this to us now, to make it even better for those coming in later. So it means so much. It means that we're moving the jersey forward and putting it in a better place. And, you know, we have some girls retiring, but I think they can retire with such a great legacy they've left.
Now, Maher originally became a breakout social media star during the Tokyo Olympics with her TikToks from the athlete village. And she's picked right back up here in Paris, posting everything from meeting Snoop Dogg to convincing Jason Kelsey to become a USA Rugby superfan to telling Coco Gauff about her pickleball game at the opening ceremonies. She's now amassed 2 million followers on TikTok, 2.2 million on Instagram. And we asked her about how she plans to capitalize on her following to build her personal brand from these Olympic Games.
As a female athlete, it's been tough because it's not a money-making thing, especially in rugby, right? We're not getting $1 million contracts. We can't think of it as a career, really. We're not going to retire and be set. So for me, it was important I want this to be a career for me. I want this to be what I can do for the rest of my life. So, and I knew that platforms like TikTok and Instagram could be what does that for me, to create a brand, to get yourself out there, to be something that companies and brands would find profitable as to sell through. So it's been really cool to build that up, and I think it'll just keep rising and hopefully keep making money for me so that it will impact me, but also I can hopefully impact the younger generations, maybe get to a Michelle Kang level and donate like that as well.
If you scroll down in your Squawk Pod feed to Monday's episode, you can hear our entire interview with Michelle Kang, businesswoman and women's soccer team owner 3 times over. Up next on this episode of Squawk Pod, another Olympian, retired gymnast and 6-time Olympic medalist, Aly Raisman, sits down with Joe, Becky, and Andrew on the heels of Team USA's big gymnastics win. A true redemption story for Aly's friend and teammate, Simone Biles.
We've talked a lot over the years, and we've talked a lot about what she's been through, and I'm so proud of how she's come back.
How Olympians stay focused in and out of the arena when we come back. Welcome back to Squawk Pod. We're bringing you the best of CNBC's week at the Olympics, including conversations with Olympians like this next one. Joe Kernan, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin sat down with a very special Paris attendee.
Stand by, Joe. His mic, cue.
Joining us now, former 2012 and 2016 USA Women's Gymnastics Olympic team captain, Aly Raisman, and we try to somehow imagine what it must be like to be a gymnast. I just can't. There's no way I could understand the pressure or the actual fear that I would have of when you're 8, 9, 10 feet off the ground and you need to be in control of every part of your body. Mentally it's very difficult as well as physically, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. This is so beautiful and so spectacular. Yeah, it is. Even when you're doing it and you're out there, I was still terrified and still nervous. Gymnastics is very scary, and I think that it takes so much amount of so much amount of hard work. And when you're under all that pressure, you kind of just want to rely on that muscle memory because it's so hard to be able to handle everything in that moment. But when I was watching them compete last night, the moment before the gymnasts went up in beam at the team final, I was like, I am so glad I'm sitting in the stands right now because I did beam in the team final twice, and it's probably one of the most nervous I've ever been in my life both times. But I am so impressed with the way that they've been able to handle the pressure. I feel like everyone in the world is watching them.
We were nervous for them.
Yes.
Yeah, I was very nervous.
You must have been.
I felt like my parents watching them.
Must have been right back where it took you right back to where you were. But whenever that was, 8 years ago.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been 8 years, but I was so nervous for them. I feel like I was doing every movement with them, but I also felt like I like to watch them when they're not actually competing and see their body language, and they were so relaxed and so calm, so I felt like it was going to go really well, and I felt like the entire arena was rooting for the U.S. It was really special.
If you do it 1,000 times beforehand, does that you said muscle memory, can you stack the deck in your favor, or are you never sure, even no matter how much you do it?
The preparation definitely makes a big difference. I think that when you get to that point at the Olympics, I think you need a little bit of luck because sometimes fluke things happen. For example, Jade Carey was sick and wasn't able to eat for a couple of days, and that impacted her floor routine on the first day of qualification. Sometimes injuries happen. Maybe you're jet lagged and don't sleep well the night before. I think obviously you need a lot of hard work, but I think you also need luck to have that day that you compete, that your body feels good, your mind feels good, everything kind of falls into place. But I think that all those years of hard work and giving yourself that confidence is really key and really important.
I have a practical question that I just don't know if you appreciate when you're watching it on TV. Because it's like a 4-ring circus and there's other athletes competing exactly at the same time, do you ever look over at them when or you try not to? And what happens if everyone's going crazy for somebody else? Yeah. Like, how do you even think about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like no matter how much hard work you put into it and how much you train, how much you try to simulate the environment, you only get one practice in the Olympic arena before you actually compete. And most of the gymnasts are training by themselves or with a small group of people, and it's quiet in the gym. So then you go into a crowd where it's so loud, and as you mentioned, you're going at the same time as other people. So it can be very distracting and disorienting. And I actually said to my mom, when the U.S. gymnasts were on floor and Great Britain was on beam or other gymnasts were on bars, I was like, gosh, that has to be really hard. The crowd is like erupting, and then they're in the middle of a release move on bars, and it's really hard to block everything out. But when I was competing, I was somehow able to block out everything, and I could just hear my coach and my teammates. I don't know how I did it, but I think it just takes a lot of practice, and you kind of just have to learn to not let anything distract you. But it's really weird. And then when you compete on beam, oftentimes it's dead silent. And I think that's actually worse because you feel like you can hear a bag of chips opening. It's very, very weird.
Knowing that then you deal with the mental health aspects of it, do you think you understand the journey that Simone Biles went through, or do you think only she really understands that? Obviously you understand a lot better than we do, but what do you think really, and to come back and to conquer, I think, all the demons?
Yeah, I think that only Simone knows what it feels like to be Simone because she's in such a unique position and has been through so much. I feel very fortunate that I'm very close with her, so we've talked a lot over the years, and we've talked a lot about what she's been through, and I'm so proud of how she's come back, and I feel like she's doing this for herself. She's worked so hard. I feel like this is the most calm and sure of herself I've ever seen her, and I think it really shows in her gymnastics. And at the age of 27, I feel like she's really gained so much experience and more confidence. So I am so proud of her, and it's just incredible to watch her, and I'm so excited to watch her tomorrow night.
Because you could get to the point where you've done so much to say, why do I need this? And then, but then I think the champion in you just says, I do need this, and I'm gonna do it again, which she eventually did, and I bet she's glad she did too.
Yeah, I think this
part of this whole. That's why we're here, and that's why we're watching the human spirit at work. That's what's so I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a tip and trick question for you, which
Yes.
is there anything that you feel like you've learned on the bars or in those moments, there's like a mental health thing, to actually focus in like regular life that folks who are watching us can actually use?
Like dealing with anxiety.
Dealing with anxiety?
Yeah.
I have anxiety all the time.
I do too. I think it's about finding things that work for you and recognizing that everyone is different. So for example, what works for me might not work for Simone. If Simone, for example, last night I was watching and Simone, when she's waiting to go, she sits down. And for me, I was telling my mom, I'm the opposite. I like to pace, I like to move around, I like to stretch and keep my body warm. We're all different, and so what works for like your colleague or your friend might not work for you, so you have to figure out what works for you, and it's not one size fits all, just as mental health isn't one size fits all. So I think it's about obviously having the support system and asking people for tips and advice, but then taking the time to reflect and figure out how to navigate that yourself, because we're all different.
Yeah.
Thank you. I bet you get some pretty good seats, don't you?
I got to sit next to my parents. I was very happy about that.
Well,
Yeah.
those are good seats.
Yes.
All right, good. Thank you. Really
Thank you so much.
Tease will be next.
Still to come on Squawk Pod, the power of she. We'll have more on the women front and center at this Olympics, how these athletes are capitalizing on their moment, and how brands are capitalizing on it too, with Athleta CEO Chris Blakesley.
In Athleta, we have this entire Power of She brand platform, which is how we create cultural relevance and how we bring our purpose to life.
You're listening to Squawk Pod. Here's Andrew Ross Sorkin in Paris.
Our next guest understands the importance of women's sports. Athleta's Power of She campaign features decorated Olympians like Simone Biles and swimmer Katie Ledecky, and they've been lighting up the city over the past couple of days. Joining us right now is Chris Blakesley. He's the CEO and president of Athleta, a Gap-owned retail athleisure and performance wear brand. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Andrew.
And when you sat down, I said, "What are you wearing?" Because Athleta doesn't make women's clothing. And then you said,
But we don't make men's clothing.
I'm sorry, it doesn't make men's clothing. Of course they make women's clothing.
We are the by women for women brand, but we have the most incredible fabrics in the category. And so a few of our team members, shout out to Kate and Brandon, were nice enough to make me some custom Athleta so that in the 90-degree heat in Paris, I could be cool and look good and get to enjoy some of our fabrics. So it's a lot of fun.
So how do you think about performance wear versus athleisure wear? What's the difference, and where are you taking all of this?
Well, I think in Athleta, for us, one of our big themes with our consumers is make products for all the ways she moves. And so I think what we all learned and what our consumers learned over the last couple of years was you want to have fabrics that allow you to move through the day no matter what you're doing. So we all have this appreciation for performance fabrics. Athleta's heritage has been innovating fabrics for women, by women, going all the way back 26 years. And so you have the ability to go right from your class to work, walking the streets of Paris, whatever you need to do, and you can feel comfortable doing it.
How do you differentiate what Athleta's doing from what Lulu's doing, from your former company Alo's doing, Nike?
Sure. I think Athleta sits very uniquely in this category. One, we are the only premium brand, major premium brand that only makes product for women. We also are the only premium brand that uses premium fabrication to make products for girls down to 6 years old. So those in themselves are very unique differentiators. Also, in Athleta, we have this entire Power of She brand platform, which is how we create cultural relevance and how we bring our purpose to life. And within that platform, we have these 13 incredible game-changing women who are the Power of She Collective members who help us tell those stories.
What about the price point? Because it's not, it's not where I said you used to work at Alo, which is up here, right? Where do you sort of see yourself?
So we're definitely a premium brand. We use all premium fabrications, as I mentioned. But I'd say we're probably in the range of the category, probably at the 80th percentile. It's really important for us to create an incredible price to value ratio for our consumers so that we can be appealing to a broad range of consumers.
What does it mean to be part of the Gap?
It's so I'm in this almost 12 months. It'll be 12 months next week, so I'll celebrate a year with the brand. For me, it's been an incredible experience. The power of this organization It's access to suppliers. And when I talk about fabrics and product quality, it's that supplier network that you don't have access to if you're not part of a major organization like this. So incredible resources. And we are in the middle of executing these reinvigoration playbooks across all 4 of our brands on purpose, on relevance, on product, on experiences. And so I've found the resources and support to be one of the best parts of the experience.
And going back to just this performance versus athleisure, what do you think the difference is?
Well, I don't know that there is so much of a difference. I think it's performance is often what you're talking about in the fabric itself. It's like, how does the fabric work? Does it cool? Does it care well? Does it travel well? It doesn't necessarily mean you're using it in a performance environment. And so it's how do you take that and put it into products that people can wear for leisure, whatever else they're doing throughout the day.
It's great to see you. Thank you for coming.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
That's the podcast for today. On our next episode, you guessed it, more Olympics. We keep the games coming with bonus episodes from Paris, like outfitting the athletes and sponsoring the whole thing. We have a lot of good content for you, so make sure you follow Squawk Pod wherever you're listening now. Our TV broadcast, Squawk Box, is hosted by Joe Kernan, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin, weekday mornings on CNBC, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you soon.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.